All right, so welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to dive into a little bit more technical analysis, and many of you are more advanced in your crypto journey. And what we've heard from you, our audience, is, Paul, let's dive in a little deeper on where and what kind of tools we should be using. That's exactly what we're going to do today. My name is Paul Barron, and this is Tech Path. Today, joining me is a researcher that we have kind of partnered up with and wanted to bring him on the show, hopefully have him back more often. A gentleman by the name of Evan Aldo, who is a crypto analyst that has been utilizing a tool, many of you guys might recognize it, and that's Market Cipher. Evan, hey, great to have you on the show today.
Awesome to be here, Paul. How are you?
Good, doing well, doing well. All right, so Evan, we've had a chance to kind of do our due diligence on some of your trades that we've watched in action on your YouTube channel, and really kind of understand a little bit about what you've been able to do with Market Cipher, which, based on what I've watched, and I've watched, I don't know, hundreds, if not double hundreds of videos, and people, including CryptoFace himself, on his action of what he's doing a lot in Market Cipher. And I was very impressed with what you guys are doing there. I love kind of the analysis there. I want to break down Ethereum today a little bit for our audience and kind of give you a chance to kind of showcase a little bit about how you trade with technical analysis that are utilizing these kinds of tools. What do you see right now with the Ethereum scenario?
Yeah, so Ethereum is really interesting right now. I'm just going to share my screen with you and show you. This is the Ethereum chart right now. So the main thing I've been telling my audience a lot is what I think is going to happen. This is the most likely scenario. This gives us an altcoin season like we've seen to continue till probably September 15th, the latest. I tell everyone, keep in mind, September is usually a red month for crypto in general. So I think after September 15th, or maybe the earliest after September 7th, after September 10th, we'll see a pullback. So what I've been drawing out on this, this is a 12-hour time frame on Market Cipher, and this green means money flow. So what I think most likely is going to happen is we'll get some scenario like this with the money flow, and that would give us a peak around September 10th, give or take a few days. So that would lead us in to up a bit more. So what we could do with our measuring tool here is we can measure when the last time we had this type of move with the money flow. And then you could go from, here to here, what percentage? That's about 13% from where we are right now. So if we map 13%, that would, let's go over here, that would bring us up a little bit farther above this little spider line. Maybe you could get up to, it would bring us up to about 4,300, almost up to all-time highs. I do think we could have a little bit of an issue around 4,000 because that is a big psychological level. And what I'm seeing right now is if we take out our Fibonacci retracement tool, go from top to bottom here and put it around here, we are hitting the 786 Fibonacci level, which I think that is indicative of a little bit of a cool down. And we can look at some lower time frames here, like the 6 hour. And you do have the VWAP crossing under. If you're not too familiar with the VWAP, it's a very strong indicator that we will at least cool down a little bit, maybe for the next day or two. When it's coming under. However, the money flow you could see right here is coming up. So that's more indicative of maybe a sideways consolidation for a day or two. We could look more at the lower time frames. 4 hour kind of shows us the same thing. However, what we really could see on the 30-minute is this looks very overheated right here. So we would need most likely a healthy correction down a little bit during the next 2 or 3 days. I feel like a lot of people may get scared and take profits a little bit earlier than they have to here. So we could draw this out maybe down to here and then back up. Let's get rid of this line earlier, not to confuse you. And that would bring us, September 3rd, maybe. Where would that bring us down to? Maybe 3,600. Maybe best case scenario, we just come down to 3,700. And you could even see this more on the 15-minute. We are crossing into the red on the money flow here. But it does get choppy here. So it does look a little overheated. We do need a little bit of a healthy correction, and then we'll come back up. And if you're not too familiar with what these spider lines are, these were introduced to me by CryptoFace. Basically, you go back in time. There are lines of support and resistance, and you find where it went under here, and you take from the on Heikin candles. You take from the not the wick, just the candle, and you cross it over the next high up candle, just like that, without crossing through there. And they are decent lines of support and resistance. Obviously, I mean, they're not going to be as good as like some fib levels, but you could get, if you don't want to, do traditional TA, draw out a bunch of horizontal lines, if you just want to do something once and be done with it, these are great lines. I think there's a good shot we come up to this level. I don't think all-time highs, in the next week. I think a lot of people will be screaming we will, but I don't think we'll get there. That's my view on it.
Yeah, so Evan, you've pointed a couple of things here. Obviously, the money flow is moving to seem much in line with what we've seen with Ethereum in the past, in terms of its ascension and its ability. When you look at that, really kind of that psychological barrier, which has been the $4,000 mark, obviously that starts to encroach now on what we're seeing it maybe being able to reach the all-time high again. The likelihood of Ethereum making it past this cycle, I know these are much more long-term effects, but do you feel like Ethereum could have any kind of secondary run during the altcoin season once we are past the $4,000 mark?
Yeah, so what I think will probably happen is once we see a correction after September 15th, and then we come to October, and I think we'll recover there. So let me show you my screen again. I'm going to show you
Okay.
a mapped out on the weekly right here, and you could kind of see on the weekly, you could map it out a little bit what could happen for a longer term standpoint. I'm in the ballpark. I think we'll just probably keep traditional cycles here. I don't see really any reason to believe we'll go longer or before towards the end of the year for a peak. So I think somewhere, if you peak out, let me draw that a little bit better actually. And you could kind of get a guess here. If you draw here and then come up, kind of measure how this was, the same distance to this, it would bring you about, December. It's tough on these time frames, but somewhere around November, December. And then you can map out the difference here. How much did we come up from here to here? I mean, you can map out this if we do the same, if we have like another 80% gain overall. Let me get my tool here. 80% would bring us, a lot of people are going to say this is too conservative of an estimate, but I'm still in the ballpark somewhere between 6,000 to 15,000 or 13,000 for Ethereum. You could also measure out, if you want to be a little bit more bullish, you could measure out from here. This would be a very bullish case, 230% from here. And then that would bring us, where would that bring us?
That would be crazy.
I mean, not too crazy. It'd be around a little 12,000. I mean, there's people screaming, 30,000? I don't know what the big clickbait YouTubers are talking about right now, but I mean, there's people with all sorts of crazy predictions. But, I mean, Solana could take some steam away from Ethereum. ADA can as well. So Ethereum does have some competitors. Ethereum does have some issues to deal with.
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is kind of a crossover between Solana and ADA, both kind of hitting at a very critical time, and it's really more about timing for Cardano. Now, so Solana is a little bit of a different cat because I don't necessarily see the news items coming out, much like what we've seen with EIP 1559, where ETH 2.0 is coming to. There's a lot of good road runner, or I should say runway for Ethereum versus where Solana is going, ADA is going. You've got September 12th, which is really critical with Alonzo launching. So just saw Cardano, clip over $3 for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big move this week. Ethereum, obviously, in a very hot movement right now. It seems to be bouncing off that $4,000 mark, like you mentioned. Raul Paul, of course, he's been one of the big proponents of saying Ethereum could hit 20 before end of year, and he's now predicting now out toward Q1. So there's a lot of action in the space, and I think, the cautious trader in me, because I'm much more conservative, and I play against a few things. One is charts like yours, where I'm really watching what's happening within Market Cipher and where those blood diamonds are starting to occur. Definitely looking at where the spider lines are kind of showing the tracement of an activity, and then looking at some of the data that's coming in from the sentiment, because this is where we try to blend the two, and this is what's really different about our channel. I want to jump over to Trade the Chain right here and just kind of give everybody a quick view on Ethereum. So this is the 7 days. So Evan's basically tracing this out. You can kind of see here that all the way back here to it looks like August 30th right here, sentiment was pretty much at its highest point right before Ethereum really started to take off, which pricing was right around 3,300 at Ethereum at its highest point of sentiment, which was right at 75.1. And you see the blow that's starting to move. And then, of course, we see this interim high at 38.23. This, of course, happened just yesterday on September 1st. We've seen a little bit of a sideways action. So I'm kind of with you, Evan. I think that we could have a little pushback here at 4K. Maybe if we get through it, that will be a question mark, because this is going to be a scenario where a lot of people in Ethereum are going to be looking to take a profit because of where they purchased and then maybe come back in on the dip that we could see in the latter half of September before we see a next run here. When you look at those kind of things, when you see sentiment kind of flowing with price, we do a thing called amplification. We're going to do another video on Ethereum here in a bit because we do have some new indicators that are showing some pretty cool stuff. But when you look at utilizing Market Cipher outside of the traditional, EMA, SMA, tracing along with the money flow itself, because the money flow to me just seems like the natural effect on almost every token. Have you seen any kind of variation with a money flow where we've seen a little bit longer, elongated money flow activity rather than these ebb and flows that we've seen in Ethereum over the past, say, 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I could just show you right here. It's more evident on Bitcoin, but if I show you my screen right here, if you go to the daily on Ethereum, or actually it's better on the 12-hour for Ethereum, but if you just look at, if you just want to be, see if this loads, come on.
Yep,
if you just want to be the simplest trader ever, if you got out, on this money flow on the 12-hour, sure, you wouldn't have got the top peak here, but if you were buying back here, you would have made a nice buck. But here, it's really evident. Look at this 12-hour money flow here. What percentage was that? And a lot of people still try to trade. That's a 85% increase right there. And
That's insane.
I'm willing to bet you wouldn't get the top if you waited till this money flow went back into the red on the 12-hour. However, the thing you can do that I've showed people before, if you look at the Bitcoin daily money flow, this is very indicative of what's everything's going to happen. If you just got out on the Bitcoin money flow here from green to red down here, you would have got out at around 57. You would have almost got the top there, You saved a lot of emotional pain right here. And then you would have got back in. Around 40. So you wouldn't have got the bottom here when everyone was scared, but you would have had a nice, increase there. And you could have also just based this on your altcoin holdings and everything else. It would have really, every Bitcoin is king. Everything follows Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like, when we've utilized, and I still, I'm a big fan of Market Cipher and kind of what they've been able to do with these, these components. Remember, Market Cipher is basically, it's kind of like when I explain it to people, it's kind of like a plugin for TradingView. It basically can plug right into your account on TradingView. It's a great tool for technical analysis. If you are starting to kind of graduate from intermediate crypto investment trading to more advanced trading, this is one of those tools that I recommend, along with some of the sentiment tools. Some of the sentiment tools that are out there do give you a little bit of kind of that leading indicator that sometimes will start to indicate money flow. And usually either right before it happens or right before we start to see the exits, which is when people are obviously taking their profits. We'll see a lot of movement in sentiment, which is almost literally just by the minute. You can start to see these things happen. So it's very interesting. Crypto is a very unusual investment opportunity, I think, for people. And a lot of people look at it much like a stock. And it's the worst way to look at something because of its volatility.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you really have to kind of dive into some of these tools very much. Hey, Evan, last thing, quick question to you. Anything that you're watching right now that you're kind of thinking, this is an interesting little altcoin, any kind of movement in the space that you've kind of identified?
Oh yeah, well I've been very bullish on Chainlink. I do believe in Chainlink as a long-term project. I think Chainlink's really. I mean, I've been along. I told my followers I've been along on 3x leverage on Chainlink for the past few days, and I'll show you where I went. This is kind of almost a hidden indicator right here. If we go on the Chainlink one and we go to the 2 week,
Yep.
if we go to the 2 week on Chainlink, and we see we just hopefully this will load. We see we okay, yeah. We see we just confirmed, and I went in right after we confirmed this red dot,
Ah,
excuse me, green dot on
yep.
the 2 week coming up. So if you look at the last time something like that happened, the situation, it didn't work as well here. Well, it did work both ways. I mean, you got a nice bump, and I don't see this in a lot of, that's an 80% increase. Theoretically, what I'm hoping for is that we'll go up back up to all-time highs for Chainlink. I think Chainlink is a very undervalued project right now, and I don't see really any of the other altcoins having this. It's kind of just a delayed version of a lot of the other coins because a lot of them had this
Right.
green dot confirmed about a week back. This is kind of a delayed version, so I think this could be the next one to really pump high up. I think 50%, 50% in profit in my position
Yep.
on Chainlink over the past 3 days. So just
Interesting.
insane.
Very interesting. You guys watching, of course, I mean, we've been tracking Polkadot. It's had a little bit of a little bit slower movement, but it is starting to shake loose a bit. Obviously, you've seen us with the Avalanche guys here on the show with John Woo recently did an interview with us and really what Avalanche Rush is doing in their DeFi projects, all of their incentive programming. We've seen the Solana breakout. We've also anticipated many of these types of movements. We've got a really good track on where Ethereum is going, so it's going to be fun to kind of watch through this altcoin season and kind of see the end of the bear, or I should say, bull market for Bitcoin start to come to fruition. Really cool. Anyway, hey Evan, it's been great having you on, man. Thanks so much, and down here,
Yeah.
right in our backyard. So great to have you here on the show for sure.
Yep. Thanks so much, Paul. It's been great to be on.
Excellent.
Have a good
All
one.
right, you guys are tuned in to us over on the podcast right now. Make sure and just subscribe. It's the best way you can help the show. And of course, if you're here on YouTube, you're going to get a chance. The number one thing you're going to get a chance is see Evan's charts. Look at the analysis and where the market is moving in live action, utilizing tools like Market Cipher, Trade the Chain, many of the other tools that we use to really get through a full analysis, which is a different kind of analysis than I think anybody out there on YouTube that is doing this today. Our research team and the people here in the studio are really pouring a lot of time and effort into these kinds of programs and really hopefully getting you guys on the right direction for where you're going with your investments and your strategy on crypto in general. If you have an idea for a show, just hit us up in the comments below. And of course, you can always reach me on Twitter. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.